Good morning, everybody. All right, let's try it again. Everybody does this every time. Good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is my pleasure to welcome you to today's presidential lecture series, Breaking the Ceiling Through Innovation and Entrepreneurship. My name is Jason Brano, and I'm the Vice President for Advancement and University Relations here at UHD, and I have the privilege of working alongside the President and other esteemed UHD colleagues to produce these very important events that we have here. As many of you know, this event is a series of lectures and discussions that bring together the university community to reflect on topics that address justice, equity, and inclusion. The University of Houston Downtown prides itself on being an inclusive institution where a diversity of ideas and perspectives are welcome and valued through our interaction in these type of platforms, especially for our students who get an opportunity to listen and interact with leaders of industry, policymakers, plus local and national experts like we have today, that will help them become better prepared to meet the challenges and opportunities of a complex world. So before I ask our moderator to get things going today, it is my great pleasure to introduce to you Dr. Lauren J. Blanchard, the University of Houston's Downtown 7th President, to share his greetings. Dr. Blanchard.
Thank you so much, and special thanks to you, Jay, Mr. Zambrano, for all the work that you have done to really pull this together. You know, I really get excited every time we have these President Lecture Series, largely because we know that there is that unique focus on justice and equity and inclusion, but also looking for all the different avenues, the pathways that really help us to understand how we can not only help our students on the student success front and connecting those dots between what's happening with equity and inclusion, but more importantly, really understanding as well what we mean by what we can do to continue to do to ensure that our students are becoming those leaders in their communities and leaders in their professions. And so here today, our focus on entrepreneurism with the specific title of Breaking the Ceiling Through Innovation and Entrepreneurship. I'm just as excited as I can be to have three of our alums here that just gave me a quick snapshot of how important this university was to their being able to move into entrepreneurism. But also, you know, it makes me think more about the work that we do in terms of democratizing opportunity, choice, and success. And what I mean by that is that, you know, really making sure that education, the education that we provide to our young individuals and our adult learners, that in and of itself becomes the opportunity, meaning that it opens the door. It creates the opportunity for there to be no limits to what students are able to do with that higher education degree, which then allows them to make lots of choices because there are lots of them that are in front of you, because of the fact that that higher education degree really empowers you in a way where you are able to make choices. And then from those choices, as these three individuals have made in terms of what we're going to learn today, that it also then produces the level of success that we really want, and what we make clear to our students on a regular basis, that's what a degree of value does. It sets you up for success, and it sets you up to become leaders in your communities and in your fields of study. So we also make that connection as well with socioeconomic mobility, right? And we've been talking quite a bit about the fact that part of the work that we're doing here at the University of Houston Downtown is to ensure that we become amongst the top universities of those that promote socioeconomic mobility of our students, not just for the sake of allowing them to move from one socioeconomic level to another, but also not just for the sake of promoting wealth. But we know that there are all of these other outcomes that's associated with being at a certain socioeconomic status that empowers them to be healthier, to ensure that they're more engaged civically and in the community, And most importantly, that they're able to give back more generationally. It's not just for their family, but it's generations of their family members to come, as well as the outreach and the impact on the community as well. So, with that in mind, I am just thrilled that we are hosting this event today, and that our takeaways will be just what this educational experience has afforded these three individuals, and how we use that as our foundation to ensure that we're able to produce more and more individuals who are going to go out and do some of the successful work that you're going to hear today. So I'm going to turn it back over, I think, thank you, Mr. Zambrano, and we're going to get started with our panel discussion very shortly. Mr. Zambrano.
Thank you, Dr. Blanchard. Now I'd like to introduce to you our moderators for today's panel. Dr. Candace M. Tenbrink is an assistant professor of management at UHD's Maryland Davies College of Business. Her research interests include the strategic aspects of turnarounds, life cycle issues, and entrepreneurship. She will be teaching entrepreneurship next year, in addition to leading a student group to Slovenia and Austria, or was that one of the countries changed?
We're not going to Namibia and South Africa. Feel free to sign up students.
There we go. As they study innovation and growth. She advises technology-based entrepreneurs on strategy related to issues and sits on several local boards. Her nonprofit involvement ranges from leading academic groups at a local middle school to politics to actively pursuing philanthropy with the National Charity League. Prior to entering academia, she was a founder and managing partner of a film production firm in New York. Her background also includes supply chain management and investment banking in the semiconductor equipment industry. Dr. Tenbrink, the floor is yours.
Thank you so
Take
much.
it.
It is an honor and a joy to be the moderator. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Dr. Blanchard, for sponsoring this wonderful series. And thank you to the panelists who I've already met this morning for the past 53 minutes. And they are delightful and inspirational and a gift. So thank you for your time. Okay, so before we get started, a couple things. I am going to ask them to introduce themselves, but am I not loud enough? Says no one ever who knows me. Is this better? Okay. Is this better, sir? Okay, wonderful. 16% of American adults are entrepreneurs, approximately. 1/3 of these businesses begin with a family in mind. About 11% of adults are in the gig economy in this country. Approximately 8% begin businesses either for their current firms or in conjunction with their current firm. Only 39% of Americans know an entrepreneur. I find that a startling fact. Approximately 20% of US Blacks are running or growing their own firm right now, approximately 13% for Hispanics and 12% for Caucasians. In terms of inclusion, and I love this, I'm going to run off some names here, list some names of people that you've probably heard of. Oprah Winfrey, Bill Gates, Henry Ford, Ariana Huffington, Debbie Fields, Sean Combs, Sheila Johnson, co-founder of BET, Beto Perez, he created Zumba, Sofia Vergara, co-founder of Latino World Entertainment, and Cesar Millan. Those people, what do they have in common? They're all entrepreneurs, very big names, and very successful. So I hope with that in mind that you are ready to interact and listen and learn from our inspirational panelists here. And maybe one day in the near future, I'll be up here again reading your name on this list. So with no further ado, I would like each of you please to introduce yourself. After they've introduced themselves, I have a list of questions, and one or two of them will answer each question. And then most importantly, we're going to have time at the end for Q&A, so that way our panelists can interact with all of you, which should be delightful. So with no further ado, Ashley.
I was going to say ladies first.
Oh.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Trisha Lira. I'm the owner of Mammoth Services. We have a commercial roof asset management company that offers boutique white glove service to our clients.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ashley Dewalt. I am the managing director of a nonprofit accelerator program called Div Inc., and we work with women, Black, and Latino founders of tech startups, and we provide them the resources and things that they need in order to build high-scale, high-growth companies with the end goal of eventually getting acquired. And so outside of that, being the managing director of that organization, I'm also a managing partner of a venture capital fund called The Collective, and it's a VC fund that invests in early to late stage sports startups. And so that is what I do in a nutshell, work in the venture capital space with startups, VCs, angel networks, and things of that nature.
My name is Jason Hyman. I am a licensed real estate broker and urban planner, the owner of a company called Real Inc. We are the only minority-owned real estate firm offering both brokerage and urban planning services here in the city. For those that aren't familiar, I like to kind of wrap that up and tell people we not only help folks buy and sell home and properties, but we also help transform communities through policy advocacy and consulting on development projects on the ground from an urban planning perspective to build, stronger, more sustainable communities here and across the country.
First question, what led you to become an entrepreneur? What was that spark that inspired you and encouraged you to move forward?
So this is something I'm very passionate about. People that know me know I'm passionate about education, entrepreneurship, and technology. I was a student at 21 years old. Actually started going to UH downtown when I was 18. But I started my entrepreneurial journey when I was 21 at this university, third floor. And I would have, I would literally, I remember I used to go to this class. One of the professors was Ken Jones. And he was like, hey, man, what do you do? Because I would come to class late sometimes. And, he's like, what do you do? And I'm like, well, I work with athletes. And he was like, well, what do you mean? And I was like, well, I build their brains. This was before branding and all that stuff was even like a buzzword. I was doing this almost 20 years ago. And so for me, I never had anyone in my immediate family that was an entrepreneur. But it was something that I felt like it's something I wanted to do. I wanted to kind of be in control of my own destiny. And I was willing to make whatever sacrifices that it took. I didn't care what it took. I wanted to be successful. And so for me, I wanted to also be able to build a legacy and be able to impact my community at scale at some point. I didn't know when that time would come, but that's something I've always been passionate about. And so for me, make a long story short, it was at this building is when I actually got that entrepreneurial bug, so to speak, to really start to begin that journey.
Mine is probably just a tad bit different. So I started out in the engineering arena and couldn't stay focused on all the equations and things like that. My mind was always going, how much can we get for this widget? I mean, this is cool that we can make them, but how much can we make off these widgets? And that grew to a point of me wanting to, I wanted to develop a city. That was, really the passion behind that. And the more I went along in my career learning, I set out to go and learn what I felt like I needed to know to get to that point. The more I went through my career, I realized that I wouldn't be able to achieve that goal if I did not step away and do the things I'm doing today. So that's really what truly sparked me. Is really just having a goal and going after it. Quite similar to what you're saying, like, hey, let me equip myself and figure out what it takes. And once I figured it out, okay, let's start this journey. So
Trisha.
So my whole life, I've grown up around entrepreneurship. I'm a third generation roofer. I didn't plan on being a roofer, but I am, and I'm proud of it. It's an amazing industry that I'm advocating to be seen in a different light than what general contracting in that industry is looked at. But I always wanted to own a business. I didn't know what it was going to be. I thought it was going to be finance. But once I started helping family members within the roofing industry and going to school and saying, wow, you know what? This is actually a good industry to be in. This is a good business. And I chose, I'm going to do roofing. I was very shocked that I actually did make that decision. But at the end of the day, it was that moment of, I always wanted to have that opportunity. And I saw that this is a good place to be. And this is what I know. I have experience in it. Why am I going to venture out in something that, and I think I could have been successful in a different industry, but why would I when I found a great opportunity and saw the success and the possibilities that were presented right there? So, and I see that in a lot of different people that have come from parents that have, and that's usually how it goes. You have a parent that has maybe a contracting or roofing and those type of taco truck. But you have a younger generation that brings it and innovates it and grows it into something really great. And so, but that's kind of where my spark came from.
Can I just add something real quick? Because I know there's some students in here. And so for the students in here, I just want to, just share something real quick. During my journey here at UH Downtown, I was actually working full time. I was going to school full time here, and I was also working full time. There was a post office, Alameda Post Office Station. I was working at delivering mail. And I want y'all to understand, like, the path is going to be a lot of ups and downs, okay? For me, I would sit in my truck and I would literally look at Wall Street Journal, Forbes, Fast Company, Entrepreneur, all these different magazines I was never exposed to growing up. I was exposed to BET, Jet Magazine, Ebony, Essence. Okay, I want y'all to understand that I was 21 years old and I thought to myself, why was I not exposed to this? My dad is a pharmacist, my mom is an educator. Why did I know nothing about this? Entrepreneurship. So what I'm saying to y'all that are students in this room, it's never too late to start. I don't care if you're 18, 19, 20 years old. You can start that journey now, while you're in college, just like I did. It's about being exposed and having access and opportunity. And you have people in this room, I'm sure, that can help you along that path. They can provide guidance, mentorship. To be honest, that's some of the reason why we're going to be staying here afterwards to speak to y'all. I encourage you to come and speak with us because I wish I would have been in your shoes and I had people to help me along the way. And so I want to let y'all know, like, we're here up here on this stage for y'all. So don't be scared to come to us afterwards.
Thank you for that. I think this is time for a commercial break to take Dr. Tenbrink's class if you'd like to learn. Back to the program. Mindset. Could you tell us a little bit about the entrepreneurial mindset? I mean, we read a lot about that if you're reading those kind of articles in journals, but tell us about what's going on in your mind and when did you figure out that you had this burning passion to do it?
So the mindset is interesting. That mindset is probably just a little bit crazy, just like I said, it's definitely a lot of ups and downs. But you really have to be able to be flexible and kind of not go with the flow, but see opportunities where most people don't. There's a silver lining almost in everything. And you have to kind of train yourself to be aware of that, to calm your nerve and really set in and figure out what's really going on right now and how can you, your company, and the folks around you, how can you take advantage of that? So always seeking out those opportunities, no matter what's going on in the market, in the world, sometime even in your life, because you are really truly the driving force behind your company. It's kind of like the point guard on a basketball team. Everybody else is really has to keep up with your pace. So, I mean, you're going to have some long nights. You're going to have some long weeks, so to speak. Don't be afraid of that. Lean into it, especially early on. If you do, it's only for a short period of time, right? And then you're able to kind of fall back and really grow and scale in what you're doing.
The entrepreneurial mindset is one thing, and then you have an ideas person, and then you have the innovator, and someone might have a wonderful idea and they want to start a company, but do you have the entrepreneurial mindset? Can you get it to this point and then you fail, or you almost fail, and then you step back up and you see what happened? What resources can I use? What can I adjust? And going to the next step and the next step, it's just the endurance, because it can get very difficult. It can get very hard. And that's not to discourage, that's to show, if you know that you can go through those paths, or know someone, and if you're the innovator, if you're the idea person and you can find that entrepreneur and say, hey, let's connect, that would be a path. But it's having that endurance to be able to get through that next step, but also having the innovation, or having the person, making sure, hey, what qualities do I not have? What could I utilize to make a successful company? And bring those people with you. Surround yourself with that. And that would be generalized of an entrepreneurial mindset, just utilizing any resource you have, the people, any kind of programs that are available. I remember being in school, always remembering, okay, I like this person. Okay, maybe one day I'll use them. And I've hired people that I went to school with that were either in a sorority of mine or different aspects. And I'm always keeping in mind, okay, this person would be great. And I always keep them in mind, because where I'm growing in my company is always evolving. And so the more I grow, the more need I have for different resources. And so it's having that mindset of big picture, but also being able to see it here, bring it all the way down, and then this is where you start, in general.
Now, I'll just add this real quick. When we talk about the entrepreneurial mindset, you have to have a mindset of being comfortable and being uncomfortable. And I'm gonna say that again. Being comfortable, being uncomfortable. What sacrifices are you willing to make? Personally speaking, I've sold my car. This was when I was in my journey, when I was in some of y'all's seats. When I was 21, I sold my car. That was my seed capital. There was a easy pawn across from NRG next to Captain Benny's off of Main Street. I pawned everything I had. Everything. That was my seed capital, okay, to go and to fund my dreams. I didn't ask my mom and dad to fund my dreams. I made those personal sacrifices. And so my question is, what sacrifices are you willing to make to actually pursue your entrepreneurial dreams? And you have to think about that and be able to look at yourself in the mirror and be honest with yourself. You're going to sacrifice relationships, sacrifice money. You're going to make a lot of sacrifices. There's founders that I come across through our program, and they say, Ashley, I've been eating ramen noodles, whatever you want to call it. I've been eating ramen noodles for 2 months. And I look at them and I say, I've been eating ramen noodles for 20 years. Okay. How bad do you want it? That's the question. How bad do you want it? And so that's something, when you talk about this mindset, you have to have self-awareness. And it's okay if you're not an entrepreneur. You can be an entrepreneur within a corporation. That's okay. Not everybody is built for that. And that is okay, because it almost cost me my marriage. Okay? And so I just want to be honest and real with everyone in here. It's not for everyone. And it's okay. You can be an entrepreneur within a corporation. okay? And that's running, head of innovation at Intel, or, director of growth at Google. Whatever the case is, there's other opportunities along the journey. But if you don't know, you don't know, but you have to ask, right?
Wonderful. Thank you. On that note, let me pivot a little bit. Along the way, you probably experienced some times where you faced fear, uncertainty, and doubt. How did you get through those black moments? Trish is laughing. I think she will go first.
You just bury yourself. Eventually, you'll see the light, maybe. I've had dark moments. Where I'm at in my company now, we're in a wonderful place, and it's in that moment of, well, how far do I want to keep going? Which I think it's amazing. But then, just like he was saying, those sacrifices you're making now, well, I still have to make those decisions every day. Even how far do I want to grow? Well, then what sacrifices I'm going to make? But when I have hit those dark moments, I was in a dark moment when I started the company. And maybe that's what helped build my resilience for an entrepreneurship and to be able to get through those difficult times. There was times where it was, what's the purpose? Why am I putting myself through this crazy thing? I can make so much more money working for someone, and I don't have to worry about someone else getting their paycheck. And when is this coming in? Am I going to get this deal? Or, okay, let's get a new sales pitch or marketing strategy, or okay, are we going to innovate our industry? It's so many different. And then, but why? My kids, I don't see them sometimes. I can just see them more, and it's scheduled, you're 9 to 5 versus what you would experience as an entrepreneur, their sacrifices. But when you have that on top of dark moments is very dark and hard. But then you have people around you that help with that, where if they're part of that, or just like, you take that next step. And me too, God was that mine. And was my help for that through, whether you're faithful or not. And that was a big piece of it. But at the same time, just knowing to have the right people surrounding you to keep you going. Let's do the next step. Okay. Okay. What are we going to do in this situation? What are we going to do in this situation? And taking that next step. And then you do it day by day when you're in those moments. Okay, I'm going to do this next day. I'm going to do this next day. And then you finally get out of it. And then you make it. And then you don't. And then, but you do. Eventually, you would hope. But it's going to be a roller coaster. Even with mine growth that I'm wanting, anything could happen to anyone at any time. You just never know. But to know that you're prepared and you have that resilience and you have that, no, I'm going to get through it. And every time you go through those battles, you're just that much stronger in knowing how to go through that and experience, the growth of it.
So there was something in what you said that I want to touch on just to, pinpoint in is find your village, right? Find your support group, your community. This may not look like your family, your friends, or your loved ones. This is a lonely journey, okay? Everybody's not gonna understand why you chose this path or what you're doing or why are you stressing about certain things. But there are other folks out there that are going through the same thing. And so you find some comfort in knowing that you're actually not truly alone, right? And being able to share those stories with one another really helps you push through those times, right? To know that it's not just you, right? I think I go through that myself all the time, but being able to call someone up or go get a drink or something outside of my business, outside of my family, outside of those things, to be able to just vent. Sometimes it's venting, sometimes it's collaborating, sometimes it's creating different solutions for what you're going through. All that's very helpful to get through those as you call it, those dark times. It's definitely some dark times.
Yeah, and I'll just add real quick that there will be a lot of dark times, and you just have to push through. You just have to push through. And that's where, you know, your faith is important to lean in on. And I'd also say, you know, to their point, it is a very lonely journey. I'm 41. I started when I was 21. We didn't have social media. We didn't have these Facebook groups. We didn't have anything, right? It was just me. And that was very lonely. There were times that I battled with depression because I had no one to talk to. No one in my family was doing this, was an entrepreneur. So I had no one that I can actually speak with about the things that I'm dealing with, the stresses, all of these different things. And so take advantage of the things that you have now in terms of technology, these communities, things like that. They have all these different websites for entrepreneurs. I mean, there's so many resources now compared to when I was 21. It's like night and day. And so take advantage. Like, y'all are at this point in your young lives that you have everything that I wish I had to make that journey much easier. It was for me the school of hard knocks. Y'all don't have to deal with that anymore. Everything is on YouTube. Everything is in college that you can. I mean, honestly, I learned to start a business through, like, I don't even know if some of y'all even remember Netscape. Like, that's how old. Like, I started my business like on Netscape and AOL, getting disc in the mail. That was my school, right? That was my YouTube. It's a different time period now. Y'all don't have to go through all those bumps and bruises. So take advantage of that now. All right, and take advantage of these resources that the university provides to you guys, as well as just doing, you know, research on Google.
To add to that, we are so lucky and blessed to be in this country at this point because we are in a very entrepreneurial country and we have a lot of institutional knowledge and skills about growing entrepreneurs. I've done a lot of traveling around the world talking about entrepreneurship or researching with my Fulbright, and we really, really are super lucky. So even if you don't get a disc in the mail, there are other ways to learn.
Yeah, we didn't even have, when I think about it, we didn't even have like entrepreneurship 20 years ago. When I would tell my family members what I did was I was an entrepreneur, they're like, what do you do? Just eat bonbons every day? Like you know, but it's seriously, there was no schools for entrepreneurship 20 years ago. There wasn't. There just wasn't. So, you know, now that you have these resources, take advantage of it.
So we're gonna pivot again, and I would like to ask our panelists about entrepreneurship and minority focus. Have you faced any roadblocks in terms of being a minority in what used to historically be a very Caucasian-based support mechanisms? Try not to dig myself into a hole here. We know Silicon Valley tends to be very male-dominated, very Caucasian. So have you had challenges or opportunities, aha moments, any way you want to slice or dice this? A female angle, anything.
Well, I'm a roofer. So there's those challenges, you know, being taken seriously. Who's this woman roofer? Well, I turned it around as brand. I'm the woman roofer. I am the best woman roofer out there, and I'm going to innovate my industry, and I'm going to build women within the industry. I haven't, because it's so crowded and men in my industry, I haven't faced more on the other end of minority, but I think being a woman is big enough. But just as we were talking earlier, Ashley, and bringing up women within the industry, and it's so needed just everywhere in general, but my industry in specific, and there's so much they can do, and there's so much opportunity out there, but the opportunity is not there within the education. And so just bringing that out and growing that with working with universities and Department of Labor, but at the same time, I made my way. I branded myself and I made it known. I made sure I had credibility. I made sure I got my MBA because I knew it was going to be rough. Oh, you're MBA. Yeah, I am. And I'm a businesswoman. I'm a roofing businesswoman. I'm not just a roofer. And it's changing that whole idea of, oh, it's a roofing company. No, it's more than that. So
Oh, go ahead.
So I definitely don't have that problem. But you know, the real estate industry still has is usually male, white, dominated for the most part. There aren't a lot of black brokers in this city, let alone probably the country. I don't know the statistics on that, but I know when I step in the room, I'm the minority in that room. There isn't much that I'll say this. I worked for the bank, for Bank of America for some time. And that kind of gave me some tough skin to deal with this, feeling out of place, right? It's an awkward feeling to walk in a room and really not know how others might be thinking of you if you're supposed to be in that room. And all I can say is really dig in to be yourself, whatever that looks like. I remember just a quick one time of walking into a bank meeting and everybody had on black suits, blue ties, you know, the typical standard bank issued uniform, I guess. You know, and I had on, you know, a little nicer suit, some color, I think a purple tie or something. So I really stood out. I was nervous. I thought I was gonna get, you know, or whatever the case is, but that's actually what opened people up, is me being confident in that and stepping in and not shying away from it. So I think really, really people attract to you being genuine to yourself. You know, don't try to be something else to fit in because you may be the minority or the woman in the room or whatever the case is. Really step into that. I think that's, you know, essentially what you're saying, even from your perspective as well. So I endorse that message, so to speak.
And I'll just add that for me, you know, some of the things that I experienced during my career. So I was in the sports and entertainment industry for the last 20 years in esports. And, you know, I would be in these rooms for the last 6-7 years. I would be the only black man in the room. I would be sitting in the room with, you know, Mark Cuban's business partner, Mike Chafin, or, you know, really senior high level people in the room in sports industry. And the only other people that were in the room that looked like me, they were pro athletes. And they were like the elite of the elite athletes. And I thought to myself, man, I have to be LeBron. I have to be NFL Pro Bowler just to be in a room in a business meeting with these folks to talk about investing and getting access to these deals. And I said, something's wrong with that. And so I didn't know when that opportunity would come, but it's come now. And so now, you know, it feels great to be able to be in a position where I'm a venture capitalist and I have my own fund that it's a $25-50 million fund that will be investing in sports startups. And it's one of those things that the challenges when I would see a lack of women, Black and Latino founders of sports startups. And I saw this for 6 years. And I said to myself, there has to be a better way. And so, you know, one of the things that, you know, I wanted to be able to do through this fund is be able to make an impact in that industry at scale and not just invest in those founders, but to create a pipeline for women, Black, and Latino founders of sports startups, which is why we had our Sports Tech Accelerator this past spring in partnership with Verizon here in Houston at the Ion. We had a mix of diverse founders. We partnered with women in sports tech because we were trying to drive more women in the sports tech space. And so everything that I'm doing has lined up to this fund. It's been very strategic because I'm all about making necessary, meaningful, and sustainable change. And so now we have a pipeline with this accelerator that can now be my pipeline to now invest $250 to $2 million in. Now we're working on a hackathon where we have all the universities in Houston, all of these student athletes, students that just want to be able to launch a startup in sports. It's now having a hackathon. So now we're creating a change that's sustainable. And so, you know, when you talk about these challenges, I've seen them throughout the 20 years, but I'm the type of person, and people that know me, I'm a doer and not a sayer. And so I've been building this pipeline and driving this change in that industry that's basically driving more diversity, equity, and inclusion. And even with the fund that I have, is going to be equitable and accessible for everyone in the sports industry. You no longer need to be able to invest and write a check for $250,000, have a $5 million net worth. No, you shouldn't have to not have access to those same type of opportunities. And so these are things challenges that I've seen in the industry, and that's why we're actually working to like make those changes, to make it more equitable and accessible for everyone.
Awesome. So, side comment for Jason. I have a full closet of Brooks Brothers suits. They're all navy and black. And I wore them when I worked in investment banking.
Yeah.
And I was the only female in the room always.
Yeah.
And I tackled that by learning how to drink whiskey. I know the provost and presidents here. I learned to swear. And I learned how to stay up past midnight and golf for the boys.
Yeah.
And now that I'm a professor, I don't have to do any of those things. Anyway.
And Candace,
Oh,
one
yeah.
thing to your point, to the investment banking, real quick. 2 years ago, I don't know if anyone is familiar with, there's a venture capital firm here in the city. They're the, it's called Mercury Fund. And they manage just under $1 billion in assets. One of the most established venture capital firms in the state of Texas. And 2 years ago, I walked through those doors. I had never seen face-to-face, in the flesh, outside of Shark Tank, watching Damon John. I've never seen a black man that was a VC in my life. I walked in those offices. I seen a brother by the name of Heath Butler. He asked me my name. I told him my name. He said, "Hey, man, I know your whole family. Your family, I go to the same church." He said, "Come, step in my office real quick." He said, "What are you trying to do? What is your end game?" I said, "Well, now that I see it, I believe it." I said, "I want to do what you're doing." And he was like, "I'll teach you everything I know." Literally, for the last 2 years, everything. My MBA has come from Mercury, the School of Mercury. And the founding partner, Blair Guru, Caucasian man, love this man to death. He's one of the most influential people in this city when it comes to the tech ecosystem. And if you walked in that office, you see that the diversity in that room, that's what every venture capital firm should look like. It should not be all white males. His office, everyone is welcome. It's it looks like the United Nations in there, okay? But literally, diverse voices, diverse perspective, diverse thought, diverse leadership, all of those things equate to better returns.
Time for another commercial break. Ashley just gave a great pitch for University of Houston downtown because we are the Rainbow University. Thank you. Thank you. All right. He also answered question number 5. Who helped you along the way? Who are your role models? Christian, Jason.
So no fun or anything like that, but mine is a little more closer to home. And I think that's more so my grandmother. Even from a little kid, I was born here in Houston. I grew up in Chicago, but I would always travel back here. And all I can remember is her. I feel like every time I came back, she was doing something different, a different business. This is a single woman. from a cleaners to, small grocery store to so on and so on. And I think that is what really truly inspired me, because when I look back now, there's 9 of us cousins, from different, brothers, sisters. She, in some way, shape, form, or fashion, put every last one of us through college, whether it be a room, money, a car, a shoulder to cry, lean on. That was, I think, what really truly inspired me and pushes me still to this day. And to see her at 70 plus, she still has a business. She's probably been one of my clients first starting off. She had a big portfolio of properties, and I sold a lot of them over the years, right? So that's been a big help to me, that inspiration, and then it's that boost of getting going, actually. So
Thank you, Jason.
I would say my main role model, individual that would inspire me, would be my dad. He has the major entrepreneur spirit, and I was so blessed to have that, because not everyone does. But you found your way. And it was always, he never wanted roofing for me because he knew that life. But he always go further. You can do this, you can do that. But just big dreamer, just inspire. I'm like, I wish I could take your brain, put it in mine, put it together. We can make something great. And he works for me. And so it's really awesome to be able to have that collaboration. But that was the biggest, I would say, someone to look up to. And I didn't even realize until starting to work with him and growing and saying, wow, I'm continuously learning as he evolves. I'm getting that extra that he's growing into, and I'm getting it now. So it's exciting to see how that will grow. And over time, I've met different amazing businesswomen, different industries, but just to see how that they can grow in the path that they've created for themselves, and understanding, being the mom of you're wanting to be there. Okay, well, my mom or my husband will be there, and I won't be that caretaker, or being a wife, or whatever the case your dynamic is, and to see it and to say, you know what, this is what we've chosen and we're going to go after it. And yeah, it's not easy, but this is the path that we've chosen, and to have that same connection. So a lot of women in the industry, really any woman entrepreneur, inspiration for me.
Thank you. Ashley, did you want to add?
Yeah, I'll just say real quick that seeing entrepreneurs like grinding, that inspires me. I feed off of that energy. I mean, that's why I do what I do. And so when I come across entrepreneurs, doesn't matter what type of business they have, I just have so much respect, love, admiration, because I know the journey is hard as hell. And, that's what inspires me, outside of my wife and my beautiful daughter. And at the end of the day, those role models, a guy like a Heath Butler, who to me was like a unicorn. It's funny that it's, I don't know if anyone knows the statistics of venture capitalists in this country, but there is not, it's about less than 1% that are actually Black, that are actual partners at a venture capital firm. And it's even less when you talk about women that are partners at a VC fund. Mercury has both. And so I'm looking forward to the day when we have some Latino sisters that are VCs in the city, because I think that those are some things that, and I don't want to go on a tangent, but when you talk about the diversity of the city, and you talk about the tech ecosystem, there needs to be more diversity in that space when it comes to actually investing, and not just launching the startups, but also on the boards, actually writing the checks. And then that's when we'll actually be able to realize the full potential of our city when it comes to tech and innovation. And so I'll leave it there.
Thank you for that. What is the one piece of advice you would give to the audience today, or the one piece of advice that you wish you would have known 10 years ago?
Wow.
You can answer A or B.
Wow. Yeah, there's so much, but so, and this is probably more so for the students than anything. And I think Ashley mentioned this earlier on. Start early. Start early, and don't be afraid to fail at whatever it is you're doing. As you get older and as you accumulate responsibilities, it gets harder, right? Having a wife and having children, I love it, but it also makes it harder. And so right now, while you don't have those responsibilities, bump your head, right? Right now, bump your head. Reach out, gather those mentors, gain whatever knowledge you need, and apply it as quick as possible. Fail as quick as possible. I know that sounds crazy, but that's how you learn. Okay.
That was amazing. That's truly, yes, right now for 10 years ago. And that would be the moment of, because once life happens, it happens, and it can bring you derails itself. But when you're young, and whether you do have kids or not, and if you already have kids, well, you can do that too, because we all have kids. I started my company, I was pregnant in my MBA program. Like, it's possible. There's nothing that should stop you if you really want to. If you really want to do it, you will make it happen. I said, I'm going to get my MBA. I'm going to start this company, and I want to have a child at the same time. And I did it. So it's possible. So that's excellent. But my advice, I would say it's more for now, is finding, right now I'm a part of it's called a roundtable for other CEOs. And you talk about your businesses, and you grow, and you have, you're having this or you're having that, and you have suggestions of, well, this is what I'm going through, and you motivate each other and where your growth at. And it would be great to even start it at this level to my start, because, hey, what are you doing? What are you growing? The one I'm part of, completely different industries everywhere. And it's fairly small. I think that would be great to start something. I'm not sure if it exists here, but if y'all are entrepreneurs, start a group here, or even start some type of program. And I'm sure there's some that do exist for startups, but have that camaraderie, because again, when that moment happens, man, I wish I could talk to someone. You're just talking business, and the other person's like, but they don't feel it. They don't know. It's the feel. Like, they can hear and they can empathize, but they don't truly, oh, you're feeling this. And so I would say that would be a big piece. And to see them grow with you would be really cool. If I could have had that back then, to grow with a group of entrepreneurs, I'm so thankful I have that now. And as we see us all now, and to see where we'll all be 5-10 years from now, it's going to be great. I have no idea. That's how far and how much growth could happen for any of us. So
I echo everything that they said. Start early, fail fast. This is the perfect time for y'all. I take risk still to this day, but they're much more calculated because I have a wife and 2 kids. And so, the old Ashley of 21, I'm guns blazing, I'm going in anything, I'm not that same Ashley I was 20 years ago. My wife probably wouldn't be my wife anymore if I was. But I did give her full disclosure that she was signing up for a roller coaster before we got married. So, but no, seriously, those things are what they said. And then also realizing that it is a marathon and not a sprint. It is a marathon, not a sprint. So often, and I'm really want this to resonate with y'all in the room that are students. I know y'all see all this stuff on social media. Folks posted up by airplanes, Bentleys, and all this kind of stuff. Oh, I can make you 6 figures. You take my YouTube class, whatever the case. All of that microwave success, that's exactly what it is. It's microwave success. It does not last. Okay. And the people that are truly successful, when you speak with them, they're going to tell you how long that they worked, the sacrifices they made. And so I want y'all to keep that in mind, is that it's a marathon, not a sprint to success. Everything that I've done, me launching this fund, everybody that knows me, they're not surprised. As a matter, Blair Guru said, Ashley, this was 20 years in the making. Everything you've done for 20 years has led up to this day. So I just want y'all to take away that you have to be patient, not rush the process. You have to trust the process. You have to fall in love with the process. Fall in love with the process. Okay? And then from there, make sure that you have people that are around you that are going to be your support system. Because it will be a rocky road, but that's okay. That's part of the process. All right? That's it.
So as someone that left her company for golden handcuffs, I went back to finance and worked for Goldman Sachs. Really like golden handcuffs. I will say this. Everything that they have said, I totally agree with. Not that I need to agree with you. It's right on. I've advised entrepreneurs over the year, fail fast, have people to help you, be positive. All of that is spot on. And the thing I will leave with before we open it up for Q&A is this. When I did work in investment banking, I found that the CEO and the leadership job is the loneliest job in the world. And we're going off script here, but I think this is really important to build your network and build that safety net when you can, because when you are the leader, it is really difficult to share your fears with others because you have to be the marketer. Yeah. You have to be strong. Yeah. People don't want to look at you and go, oh, wow, you have no idea what you're doing next week? You can only say that to your close confidants, right? So I think that is especially really good advice for anyone that would like to be an entrepreneur. So if you all don't mind, we have 16 minutes for Q&A. And I'm hoping there are questions because I know these three have answers. In fact, they could probably talk to 6 p.m. But we won't. We won't. Questions. One of you want to ask a question, I know it. One of the students? I do this in my class. Are you leaving? Are you running away? Oh, good. All right, we got one.
Is working? Can you hear me? Okay, are you guys prepared for an economic downturn is my question. Yeah.
So our industry is cyclical, period, right? It's kind of built in. You're never necessarily prepared for it. You learn how to navigate it. I'm not sure there's a template to be prepared for our industry necessarily, but the longer you're in it, the better you get at adapting and seeing things that are coming forward. So I guess in a sense we are prepared for it because we know how to navigate it. And the places where we don't know how to navigate, you just heard, we reach out to those folks that have been doing this for 20 years before us because they've seen it all, right? None of this is really new under the sun. There's technology here now, so information exchanges faster and things move a little differently, but nothing is really new that is going on. So being able to tap into those networks, that helps prepare, having the knowledge. It's not really about having, I saved $1 million up, right? It's more about, do I have the knowledge to actually reposition myself to continue making profit for my business?
That's a great question. I had that same question for Blair when I was in the process of deciding whether or not I wanted to raise a fund during this time. And the funny thing is that in their world, they actually had investors that went from $500,000 to $1 million investments. They actually doubled because someone like Blair that's been doing venture for 20 years, he saw this a few years ago when we had a recession. And that's when their investors made even more money because they wanted to double down because everybody else was pulling out, right? And so it's the same thing that's happening now. They're getting ready to close $150 million. It hadn't slowed them down. And so when I think about the wisdom and the things that he's already experienced, that gave me the confidence that, okay, we can actually do this. And so to your question, it hasn't affected anything about our investment strategy or anything like that. And so we're expecting to still close and be able to close probably faster, to be honest, especially with all the things that's going on in the sports world as far as tech and innovation. It's the first inning, and so people are really excited about all this stuff going on. So, yeah, I think we'll be able to take advantage of it.
There's been an incredible amount of wealth generation in the United States in the last decade, and with the stock market doing poorly, there's really been a run to other assets that aren't as liquid. And Ashley just shared with you his personal story. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, it's the alternative assets like that is it. The returns on that is actually greater than the stock market. And that's why, but here's the barrier is most regular folks don't have access. Most folks cannot write a $250,000 check and not expect a return in 7 to 10 years, right? Or most people don't have a $5 million net worth. So the wealthier get wealthier. That's why when you saw the pandemic, when we went through this, when you started going through all of the wealthiest people in the country, the one common thread, they were all tech entrepreneurs. Bezos, Elon, Gates, all of them, because they actually made more money, right? So, yeah, to your point, for them, it's the perfect time.
And I wonder if anyone needs a new roof.
Anytime. In general, as you grow your business, you're going to want to at least have 6 months to a year of operating funds. But that is impossible when you're starting a company. But at this moment, am I ready? I don't want to say my industry is recession proof, but I have not experienced because of I have commercial as what I concentrate on. I have a large Fortune 500 clients as well as government entities. And so when things are down, well, let's fix everything. So that's usually where the money goes. But however, if I was in a residential world of the growth that and there's large, very successful residential companies, they are struggling because everyone's holding on to their money. Yeah. So where I've positioned myself, I made sure I'm not going to get affected. I'm going to keep growing, and I need people to help me grow, employees. And so I love where I've created and positioned myself in the industry.
And the thing is, with sports, and the sports fund that I have, it's recession proof. If you think about it, esports exploded during the pandemic. And so those are things that I'm personally leveraging when I'm talking to investors. Hey, esports, it was, every organization was trying to figure out how they can leverage esports to bring in revenue. Mm-hmm. And so it's almost like the Gladiator movie, people must be entertained. Sports. That as soon as things kind of settled down, everybody started rushing to the games, right? Because sports unites everyone. It transcends everything. And so, to Trisha's point, you have to, this stuff will probably happen 10 years from now, right? It's just, you just have to be able to adjust and be able to take advantage of certain opportunities when those times arrive, when those times come.
So one more question. What would be your worst years for all the panelists?
What is that? You need to define what more specific.
I guess with your job generally and just how you felt about where you were at, what would be the worst year?
From a financial standpoint?
Pretty much. Just more to
The
that.
beginning. The beginning. It's an uphill climb, for sure. You don't have those resources. You're trying to get your company structured. You're trying to form alliances and partnerships and things of that nature. It's probably one of the busiest times. You're trying to establish yourself. And so you're spending a lot of time and money that you don't really have yet, to be honest with you, right? You heard Ashley say, I pawned everything. It's money he didn't have, right? But you still needed to spend. So, I mean, those are probably the worst. That's probably the worst time. So if you can weather that storm, though, the upside, is valuable. It's worth it.
This year has been my worst and best time. In the beginning of the year, I experienced major losses due to incredible growth that I was not ready for. You can't be ready for, and you think you can say, I'm going to keep going, and you see all these things, and you're like, whoa, what is happening? Yeah, I'm growing that fast, but at the same time, it was an expensive lesson to learn. But I'm glad I did, because I was able to make so many different changes very quickly. Again, having that endurance. I'm not going to let this take me down. I wanted it to. I just wanted to hide and go under a chair. But at the same time, it was just that endurance that just kept you. Okay, let's just keep doing this. And wow, I'm at an amazing place now that I could never even imagine even think of. And now it's just like, wow, I'm going to think of even bigger things. I'm here. But yeah, it's the start, but also hard lessons that you learn. And unfortunately, it's financial sometimes.
I say the hardest for me has been the last 2 years, going from an industry, sports entertainment, to venture capital. Have a lot of self-doubts. And I graduated from here with a finance degree. And a lot of things, they didn't have venture capital classes when I was in college. And so, it's been the last 2 years just drinking from a fire hose, so to speak, just trying to learn about how to make investments, how to structure a portfolio, how to do due diligence. All of those different things is almost felt like I was in a matrix. But I had to realize, again, it's a marathon, not a sprint. The game will eventually slow down, right? But I had to be patient and give myself grace. And so the last 2 years have been really challenging, however, very rewarding. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Any other questions? Paul Fulbright. And just so you all know, we have about 4 minutes left.
Because we're doing advertisements, Candace set a good precedent. My name's Paul Fulbright. I'm a professor here at UHD as well. And I teach courses in entrepreneurship here. In fact, I created a course just a couple of years ago called Innovation, Entrepreneurship, and the Law. It's BA 3310, so sign up anytime soon. Anyway, we've talked a lot about, and by the way, what a fantastic program. Hasn't it just been great? We've talked about, a couple of times about how difficult it can be. And I think it's, in the interest of full disclosure, we should share that. But in my classes, I also talk to students about the fact that, I think we had a comment earlier about, I think it was Miss Lyra, who was talking about, wouldn't it be great if we had sort of a round table where people could do what you were doing with some of your colleagues. Mm-hmm. And I try to do that in my classes, to tell students we want to share our stories. And I come to entrepreneurship as a patent attorney, and this course is legally oriented. So we're working on creating the structures, create the business, get the financing, whether it's from a bank or a venture capitalist, get your patents, your copyrights, your trademarks in place so that you've got a proprietary position. And one of the things I tell the students is, I want you to turn that, that focus, trying to find out a distinctive competency for your company, onto yourselves. And so what I asked them is, we have this vision that entrepreneurs are all great at everything. They're all great at everything. They're great at finance. They're great at management. They're great at marketing. But the truth is, of course, they're not. They are just like all the rest of us. We have strengths. We have weaknesses. So I'd like to ask our three guests, our three panelists, a very personal question. And that is, what do you view as your unique strength? Are you a great sales guy? Are you great with numbers? Are you a good listener? Do you connect with people? You know, because my intuition is you're probably good at one or two things, and then you connect with people who fill your gaps. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of the students in the room would draw comfort from knowing that you're not Superman, you're not great at everything.
Or women.
Or women, that's right. And so I'm curious, can you reveal a little of yourselves to us and tell us about, you know, I think I'm really pretty good at X. I'm just genuinely curious for each of the three of you.
So I'm a pretty technical person. Like I said, I started out with that engineering focus. And so I think that's how my mind kind of works in putting puzzles together, fairly strategic in that fashion. And so what I find is that sometimes I can go off into a hole into that strategy and I'm in a whole nother world. And so I have to have folks around me to kind of tap me on the shoulder to come down out the clouds, so to speak, and engage with people, whether they be online, offline, or whatever that is. And I do pretty well at that. But I think, you know, just naturally my mind tends to focus and veer off to the big picture and down the road, so to speak. So
you
yeah.
need people around you to ground you.
Absolutely.
I would say similar. I didn't do engineering, but maybe I could have been good at it. I like to dissect and analyze, and where is this going? And sometimes it could be the worst for me because why am I dissecting this so like why? What's the purpose? And so I have to bring myself back to this level of, okay, we don't need to go there. But I would say being able to analyze whether it's an individual, whether it's a process, and really dissect it and find the flaws and then pull those out. And then, but again, what's my flaw? I'm going down too many rabbit holes. So it's a great, but it's also a flaw that I work with.
You need people to tell you it's time to stop and
Yes.
squeeze the trigger.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Nancy.
Now pull it, Trish. Just let's go.
All right, real quick, because I know we pressed for time. I would say my superpower would be I'm really great at building relationships. And in the space that I'm in, everything is very relational. Everything is all built on trust relationships. And I would say my flaw is I am not an Excel wizard. I'm not a big fan of Excel. However, I have a team that's great, that complements my strength and weaknesses. So it works out perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely have to be willing to let go of things. Mm-hmm. I think as an entrepreneur, you started as your baby, so to speak, and you want to do this to it, and you have to force yourself to kind of let other people in.
Ooh, we could just keep going on. I could just piggyback off of that over and over and over. But
Jason, Trish, Ashley, thank you for inspiring us. Thank you for your honesty. Thank you for your time. I'd also like to thank the audience because it's always more fun when there's more people in the room. So thank you for coming. Thank you, President Blanchard, and thank you, Jay, for hosting this. And we'll just throw in Liza as well because she's awesome. And I hope we can stay connected.
Absolutely.
Let's do it. Go Gators.
Appreciate it.